Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. Here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So glad to be back with you guys at another live Q&A Ask the Experts on this Saturday. We also had one last Saturday, but you get the point. I keep trying to figure out what this intro should sound like, and we'll get it one of these years. Hey, listen, if you guys are listening on the podcast, thank you so much. You are listening to a recorded version of a live conversation I host most every Saturday from 10 to 11 Central on pretty much anywhere that you consume video content. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, to name a few. If you'd like to participate live, be sure to check us out. Like I said, we start pretty promptly at 10 and then we end sometime around 11. Or if it's like last week, we get into a good conversation, it's closer to 12:30. Appreciate you guys listening. If you do listen consistently and you like the content, leave us a review. The team says that makes a huge difference, and we would really appreciate it. If you guys are watching live, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday mornings to sit and talk and just chat about some fence stuff. We're going to be talking about springtime in the fence industry because, well, we could be here. We're not saying for sure. We're not putting up the jackets yet. I mean, it was a balmy 30 some odd degrees this morning when I walked out to the truck. So it's not here yet, but you can almost see it from here. Before we dive in, start saying hello to everyone and dive into today's subject matter. First and foremost, we've got to thank Expert Professional Wood Care Products. They sponsor the live, but before they started sponsoring the live, I use their products a lot. We use them exclusively now. I really, really like the product, and so that led to a beautiful sponsorship. If you know the good folks over at Expert, Caleb Ashley and the team, please tell them thank you for me. If you haven't tried their stain, you really ought to. Ever since we started we were using another brand that had an off-putting smell that made us a little bit concerned, and more than that, made the neighbors of our clients a little bit concerned about exactly what we were putting on their wood. The first time we popped the top on the Expert bucket, and did not smell that distinctive smell, we knew it was probably for the best. And what is it, 3, 4, 5 years later, we are still loving Expert Stain Steel line of products. You guys should try it out. All right, with all that being said, let's scroll to the top, see who is the first one in the chat today. The one, the only. What's up, Justin? Checking in from Plattsmouth, Nebraska. Good morning. Good morning, Justin. Second in the chat was Roger. Roger. Now, usually Roger's first in the chat, but not today. Justin beat you to it. It looks like, by about a half-hour margin. What is up, Roger? Hello, Joe, and the rest of the Fence fam. Roger, so good to see you. As Roger always loves to remind us, smash is, I guess that's the word I'm trying to say. Smash those affirmations. That's what they used to always say. Smash that like button. Whatever. Just the affirmations. The likes are fine. Now, it's been a while since I've heard this, probably about a year, so this has probably changed. But Facebook and Facebook specifically, you almost have to go past the like into the hearts or angry face or caring or whatever for them to actually log it as an affirmation. If you like the show, give it some affirmation. It helps us, I'm sure. Just you being here helps us, and I appreciate that. Muck Tape says extreme tape measures. If you haven't checked out Muck Tape, you absolutely should. Good day from rainy Philadelphia. It's a great day to be a duck. Yeah, you guys are getting the rain that we started getting a couple days ago. Now, good news for you. It's sunny. Now, it's cool, but it's sunny here. The rain has stopped so far, so maybe we'll be sending you some drier weather. Welcome, Chris, to the chat. Dagatov, I really hope I pronounced that correctly. If not, apologies. Hello from Texas. Hello, warm Texas. We know this next fellow, Shane Catton. What's up, Shane? Shane's on a little bit of a trip, or was on a little bit of a trip last time I saw a Facebook update. Sounds like you're out having fun on the east side of the country, checking out manufacturers. We'd love to host you here in Missouri. Come check out the wire weaving operation. Come swing by the Ozark fence operation. Heck, we could maybe even get you on the live show if you're here on a Saturday. We'd love to have you over, show you what we've got going on. What's up, Fence fam? Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday indeed, Shane. Aaron Preston. Hello, Aaron. Happy Saturday. Hashtag Fence fam. We need to have a new emoji instead of, there we go. Instead of the sword fighting emoji. We need to have like a guy like nailing up pickets or stretching wire or something. Brad, excited to watch? Brad, we're excited to have you. Roger said, always enjoy the wait. Thanks, Matt, for that intro music. Absolutely. Since you think I do this for a while when I point that way, and I should point this way. We're trying to figure out how to get Matt on this guitar. We got to tune it and some other stuff. And but how cool would that be if we actually had like a video intro of Matt just strumming that song? That would be so cool. Here it says, let's start the show. You got it, Aaron. Front Rock Fences, what's up? Good morning, Joe from Canada. Good morning, good morning. If you guys watch the channel, you saw a review we did where they were, it was like negative 33 or something, building a fence panel, staining it with Expert Professional Wood Care Products. It was a great video. We have, I believe I saw in the email box, we've got another video maybe to look at with you. Aaron says, what time do you start the live show on Saturday, Joe? 10 a.m. Central I almost said each and every Saturday. That is not true. The Saturdays that I'm in the office, we're doing the show. So, yep, 10 a.m. Central. Ken Throckmorton, what's up, Ken? Good morning. Good morning, Ken. What are you grilling today? Ken is always and forever will be grilling. So I just assume Ken is grilling every day of the week. That is just how I picture Ken in my mind. So, Ken, what you grilling today? Aaron says, I'm going to track down a better fence and sword fighting sir soon. All right, Aaron, you've got it. I think we can make these. I think, speaking of someone that would probably know more about it than I do, what's up, Benji? Clever Fox, what's up? How are you? Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Benji. Still need to talk to you about the thing that we talked about the other time. So it's still on my mind. But Benji would probably know more about like creating emojis. Benji, can we create an emoji? And how do we do that? And how do we get it to like Apple and Android and all these people to make sure that the proper fencing is represented on the emoji keyboard? There is so much other junk on the emoji keyboard. I think we can get one more thing in there. If not, we can just toss out, I don't know, one of the sideways smiley faces or something. Who uses those? All right. Oh, I knew it. I knew Ken would be grilling. Ken is grilling lamb today. If it wasn't such a far drive, Ken, I would be joining you, sir. Corey Bigelow says, will you continue to pre-stain in-house or purchase gopher wood? I'm curious if your wood, labor, drying, and stain costs are low enough to make it worth the extra effort, coordination. This is a conversation Caleb and I have had for quite a while, trying to figure out exactly, to your point, where the economic logistic or like where the tipping point is. For us, right now, pre-staining our own still makes sense because we use a wider 7.5 inch wide Eastern Red cedar board when we're doing installs with natural boards rather than pre-stained. And I'm not sure we want to carry two different types of cedar. Now, if we were using a 5.5 or a true 6 cedar board already and we were pre-staining them, I would probably switch to gopher wood, to your point, just for the ease of use. Just being able to bring a truckload in, set it on the ground, not worry about the drying, the staining, the dripping, the repalletizing, the stacking out in the yard. For us, since we have a wider board and it's a different type of cedar that we use on the natural installations, we'll probably continue to pre-stain those boards. For us, it also makes nice winter work ahead work. So we've got boards drying. If we were to have, which we had a couple rainy days lately, but luckily we had enough to do as far as building temporary panels and gates and such. But if we ever had a rainy day or a cold day, snow day, where we didn't have anything to do, the stain shop is a great way to, one, have guys get hours, but two, be productive while they're doing it. We'll probably continue to pre-stain in-house, but mainly because of the difference of that wider board, it's a different type of cedar. I just don't want to offer two different types of cedar and then have to explain the differences of each to the customer. But if I was using a 5.5 or a true 6 board, the gopher wood would be a natural transition over. I knew it. I knew Benji would be on this with the Clever Fox emoji in the chat. Aaron says, I have to work with what I got. Look, what is, does that mean that the emoji just isn't available on here? Just not available to display, maybe? Yeah. I will go back on Facebook after this and see exactly what emoji you tried to insert there. Dave says, screws or nails for attaching pickets to the rails on cedar. We are playing with fire early in the show. Nails versus screws. That's another one. So if you guys are watching the channel, you've seen it absolutely rocket in the last, was it 2 weeks probably? When did that first video go up? 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe? Yeah. 2.5, I don't know, somewhere in there. It's been a heck of a month. And we were talking about there's several videos, but the one that's still going strong is the me saying that you can dry compact concrete. And that was red bag, so you can still dry compact red bag. But that sparked an incredible amount of, to put it nicely, feedback on YouTube on whether or not. So now we're just going to go ahead and play with fire again with screws versus nails. We have to understand that not all nails were created alike, which is leading to my answer, right? So, and maybe we could talk about not all screws are made alike, but screws typically perform the same way. You can get them coated differently. You can get them different lengths, etc., different driving heads, that sort of thing. But nails pretty much perform the same. Nail or screws perform the same. Nails, on the other hand, you can have smooth bore. You can have what do they call them? Screw bore, where it looks like a rifling up the nail, or you can have them ring shank. We prefer ring shank nails. Obviously, from a production standpoint, you can send more ring shank nails than you can with screws. Now, I have also seen the screw guns that actually, I caught a sneak peek of one. So Sean King was it on, I think it was a TikTok video he put up, basically doing a shop tour. And one of those panned past a couple screw guns, kind of the automatic screw guns. Something to look at, I guess. But I still think a ring shank nail would outperform in terms of nails put in boards per hour. I personally have not seen ring shank nails pull out of lumber. That wasn't also caused by a tornado or whatever else. In normal conditions that you would expect a fence to perform in, ring shank nails perform, and they perform well. Now, we also talk about the materials, right? So you've got, galvanized, electrocoated galvanized. You've got stainless, which are pretty much the choice. You've also got aluminum. When we're talking about different materials, we're talking about whether or not they're going to streak down a cedar board or a pine board. I've seen both. For me, ring shank nails are the way to go. Now, we will also offer screw. We've had that customer that says, I will not have nails used on my fence. Okay. We can do screws. There is a cost associated with that, right? So it takes longer to put screws in. We'll have more labor on that particular job. We have the coated screws that we use when we're using like Postmaster Post. We've got them available. We can do that. But it is more expensive. And I don't know that the additional benefit gained is worth the additional cost incurred to put screws in versus nails. But we can do it. And you can too. Me, I like nails. What do you guys say in the chat? So typically this Q&A is predominantly filled with fencing guys. So what do you guys do, nails versus screws? Weekend Home Projects asks, have you ever seen a cable railing fence? Yeah, absolutely. So who was I was in Nationwide Industries booth and they were showing a cable rail fence. Looks great. I think it looks really slick. Absolutely. So aluminum for cedar, I'm going to show my ignorance here. I've never worked with aluminum nails, but I think obviously aluminum's not going to rust. So they're you probably see them more in just coastal areas would be my guess. I've always heard and I've always seen stainless perform super well, but I could be, we could have a conversation on the benefits of aluminum. I haven't used them enough to understand what the exact benefits over something like a stainless. It could be cost. That's the best I can come up with under fence. Oh, so it was an emoji under fence. Interesting. We'll have to go back and look at this. Oh, but it just looks like a jury box fence. So maybe like a baluster picket or something like that. Dave says, I have 240 feet to run. Ring shank the way to go. I think so. I do. But I see enough dissenting opinions in YouTube in general to know, like, you have to qualify this. My experience and my opinion, ring shank nails. And I understand. We've done a video on nails versus screws. And there are some people out there that just believe any company that uses nails is a crook and they are taking advantage of their customers and they shouldn't be professionals, and on and on and on and on. Log Cabin Fence. Hello. Morning, Joe and friends. Hello. If you guys are at the Standing University hosted by Expert Professional Wood Care Products, then you know exactly, I've got to figure out, exactly who that guy is. That one right there. There we go. I need to figure out how to use my hands again on here. TR says, you are a third generation fencer, right? Yep. Do you still have the old tools? Have you tried building fence with using those techniques? So, yeah. So what was it? It was maybe last year we broke out or we went out in the tool crib. To answer your question, do we still have old tools? Yes, because we are fencers and we keep every single thing, even the broken ones. If you're wondering, do we have a broken, chain link tensioner? Absolutely. We've got it in the tool crib, probably from my granddad, when my granddad probably used it. We keep everything. We had an old wheel cutter, pipe cutter, where it spins the pipe on a disc and it cuts it. We had a really old one of those. We got it running and used it to cut some pipe. And actually, we still have it in the shop. The problem is the production rate is not what it should be. And you're spinning pipe at an incredible rate of speed. I'm sure it was a great idea for a while, but we know we don't. It's still in the shop. I mean, we got it running. So now that we've got it running, my son will have to figure out what to do with it when he's here. Because fencers never throw away anything, apparently. Isn't that funny? So when I was a kid, and I say kid, like 15, 16, I was a teenager working for my dad, and my granddad was still here. We had just a plethora of just stuff, right? So we had an old cast. We probably still have this. An old cast. It wasn't a dome top, but it was a post cap with a horse head on it. Like, we had one of them. I'm like, what are we doing with this? And Grant said, well, you never know. Might have a fence that needs one. Leave it up there on that shelf. We'll know exactly where it is. Now, we switched shops, so it's not on that shelf anymore, but I guarantee we still have it. Fence folks keep everything. And as a kid, I was like, man, we would have so much extra space if we got rid of this stuff. We've never used it. We're never going to use it. We've got to throw it away. Now, I find myself telling the guys, hey, save that, though, because we might need it on a job. Let's just put it up somewhere where we know exactly where it is. And as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, I have become my father. And this is creeping up on me. So, and also when I get onto the kids, I'm like, I used to hate it when my dad said that. For instance, because I said so. That's why. Because I want this thing done. That's why I asked you to do it. I don't need to play 132 questions on why we're picking clothes up out of the laundry room and putting them in the hamper. Because I said so. Okay? That's a rabbit hole. Do we still have what we still do have old tools? So that might be some neat content. Maybe we'll go through the tool crib and with Matt and see what in there is salvageable. There's a good chance that not much stuff in there runs or can be used. Let's not forget to mention copper nails. I've honestly only seen them used for roofing and flashing. I've never seen copper nails used, but that doesn't mean they aren't used in the fencing industry, I suppose. I don't think they're a thing, though. TR's a fourth generation. Congratulations. Multi-generational companies in general are becoming rare. We're a third generation, so we're incredibly rare. A fourth generation, I've got to think, not quite a unicorn, but it's got to be pretty close, right? So fourth generation fencing contractor. Congratulations. Absolutely. I hope one day one of my kiddos, Macy, is downstairs right now in e-commerce making packages of nuts and bolts to send out. So I've got to hope that either her or her brother or her other sister, one of them decides that they're going to come into the fencing world. But I remember, Macy is 15. I remember being her age. So actually I was a year younger than her when I started coming to work with my dad pretty consistently. And I say coming to work, I was taken to work. I didn't really go willingly. And I remember how that feels just to have something forced on you. And this is the family reputation and you're doing it for the family, not necessarily for yourself. I don't want to go that route, right? Just make it feel like this is forced upon them. But as a father, it'd sure make me proud if we got to fourth generation. Say all that to say, TR, congratulations. Really am. That is really cool. That really is. Aaron says, hey, Benji, do you think it's possible to come up with a fence emoji that would work for us? I bet Benji's already halfway there. If I know Benji, he's almost there. What is up, Robert Whitaker? Hello, sir. Yeah, so we actually had a conversation about the backdrop before we went live. I was like, there might be a bit much. Everything says the same, right? So it might be a bit much. But like everything's special, right? So, yep, almost. So the jersey was a trip down to Nationwide Industries. It was a present from them for coming out and doing some content. It means a lot, and it represents just all of what went on while we were there. Of course, The sign here, actually, the sign and the guitar were from the same place. It was Fence Tech this year. Means a lot. So the top one was the present from the AFA for us coming out and producing content there. It means a lot. It's really special to me because it just represents a lot of firsts for us in regards to the AFA and Fence Tech in general. The guitar is one of the so we sponsored the wall of guitars there at the kickoff party. It represents just us really getting involved financially and being able to sponsor something with the AFA, something we're really proud of. Now we also were I believe we were the whiskey sponsor at the first kickoff. So, but I just don't have anything to show for that. Anyway, everything here has sentimental value to me, but I can absolutely understand. I read the comments on some of the now. Mark Olson was passing through town the other night. We had dinner and we're talking about the comments. He's like, "Oh, you can't read those." No. You take that app right off your phone. You don't need to read the comments because some of those vicious, right? But I didn't, and I still read the comments because it also like informs like content we make and things like that. So, but some of the comments are like, "You are all about you. Like all of what you have in your background is all about you." It's like that's probably not far from the mark. When I'm looking at, so I've got a screen right here. When I'm looking at the screen, there's a lot of the same stuff up there. So keep your eyes peeled for maybe a redesign coming shortly. I love the backdrop though too. So there's that. What is up, Sarah? Those of you that know the family, know the channel, know our company, you know Sarah is my sister, my middle sister. I'm currently looking at an old saw in the back barn that's like 3 foot tall. Grandpa used to cut wood using his PTO on the tractor. And we still have it. So that is the life that we live as fence folks, that we just keep everything. Now, I remember that saw. We will not be bringing that saw to the company because that is an OSHA nightmare waiting to happen. Just having it on the property. Doesn't even have to be hooked up. It's just, Aaron says, that Tampa Bay Lightning jersey? It absolutely is. Yeah, one of the things we did while we were out is we went and saw a Lightning game. It was one of my first. I've been to a few live hockey games, but it was one of my first, and it was just such a great night. We're down kind of low, and we got to see the game, but there was also just a lot of camaraderie involved there. It was great. It is a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey, which actually, let me put this back up here. So it is. So a story about this jersey is I was wearing it on the flight home. So we got it the day before. I was wearing it on the flight home. We connect through like Atlanta or somewhere because you can't fly anywhere directly to here. So connecting through Atlanta, going to make my connection, and I hear a voice say, "Joe, is that you?" Turn around. It was actually a gentleman that I'm friends with. Our sons have played sports and various things together. Now he lives in the neighborhood and comes over for dinner. Anyway, he was waiting to get on. He goes, "Is that a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey?" Yeah, it is. Well, and now let me preface this by our market is very much a blues market. Very much a blues market. So he's like, you're wearing that home? Yes, I am, because it was a present and I like it. It's a very nice present and I'm wearing it. He's like, "Oh, I hope you don't see anybody else, you know." Like, well, anyway. So Scott, thank you for that little interaction. But yeah, it is a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. I like it a lot. Weekend home projects, looking to replace a 90-foot run, a 4-foot high picket fence used to keep a couple medium-sized dogs. Thinking of hog wire or cable railing. Thoughts? How far between posts? 6 foot, 8 foot. So Sarah knows we're in the middle of a project kind of like this. So it's 4-foot picket, which probably isn't doing a great job keeping the dogs in. Hog wire. So the project we're in the middle of is in the middle of a change at the moment, but we were using just rigid cattle panel so it's large square at the top or large rectangle at the top, smaller rectangle at the bottom, but it's rigid. It's really heavy gauge, probably something like a 6 gauge, and painted black. And we're going to build a frame around that, put it in between posts. It was going to look incredible. However, once the customer saw the panels, they have some like just field fence elsewhere. They're like, "Oh, we want it to look like that." Okay. we can figure that out. I like those rigid panels. I like this idea from the get. Now, it uses wood post, so I'm generally in favor of steel post. Figuring out a way to make this system work with steel post, I think, would be even better, because then you don't have as much fail points due to just using natural materials. But so cable railing, I mean, if your dog, I would worry about the dog staying in on cable railing. I don't know your dogs. I don't know how well behaved they are, but it also kind of leaves it open for other, I don't know where you live in the world. For us, we worry about coyotes, and now we worry about everything, bears and all sorts of stuff, which, let's talk about, the fence is not going to stop a motivated bear or a mountain lion or anything like that. But I would go towards, but see, I wouldn't go with a hog wire either. So in my mind, hog wire is a little bit thinner than like a rigid cattle panel, but definitely could stand corrected. Sarah, why don't you drop in the chat what these panels are that we're talking about? Let me scan, see. Do not see it. So anyway, I wouldn't go cable railing, though, if we're talking about keeping dogs in. Aaron says, I thought copper nails kill trees. So that's the thing, is they used to run copper stakes into trees that they were wanting to take care of. Aaron says, I'm a third generation fence installer. Welcome to the chat, Aaron. Hey, look at us becoming a generational fence channel. Appreciate you tuning in. My son will be the fourth generation fence installer. Congratulations. Like I said, I think we might be on that trajectory. How old's your son? I'm curious. It would be neat. I don't know how we would do it. It would be at a Fence Tech or one of these shows. It would be neat to get a lot of generational fence professionals together. I almost said with our kids. I don't know your kids, but I know my kids, and if I brought my son anywhere, displays would be flattened. I view, like, I'm not sure my age, like the Kool-Aid man just like going through walls. That would be him. There would just be a Jackson-sized hole through so many of these displays. I don't want to unleash that chaos into the world, but it would be neat to sit around and talk about just a generational business is just unique. Not better, not worse, but it is unique. And it comes with its own set of unique challenges, or as Matt Warner likes to say, riddles, to figure out. So it would be interesting for us all to get together and just have a conversation on what generational companies look like. Or we could always throw one of these shows together. That would be kind of interesting, right? So 3 or 4 of us getting together on one of these shows and just talking about the unique aspects of a generational business. I'm liking this idea a lot. I tell you what, if you're interested in getting together on a show, we're just going to throw this together right now. If you're interested in getting together for a show like on a Saturday, such as one we're on right now, generational company. And second, I'm not going to say it's got to be third and on. I think if it's a second generation company, you're still facing a lot of the same things that generational companies face. If you're a generational fencing professional and you'd like to jump on the show, send me an email. Can you throw this email up? joe@thefenceexpert.show. Let's get together. Let's make this happen. I would love to get 3 or 4. We can't have a ton, because then it starts getting a little bit chaotic. 3 or 4 generational fence contractors together and just have a Saturday morning conversation about what it's like to be in a generational company. There we go. joe@thefenceexpert.show. Send me an email. I'd love to get this set up next month or so, and we will put this together. I like this idea so much. All right, where are we at? All right. Whoa! D&J Projects, what is going on? Hello. How's it going, Joe? It's been a long time. Must catch up soon. I agree. If you guys are across the pond, as it said, and you want to watch more fishing content, follow D&J. And it's not only fishing content. That's why I love the channel. It's a little bit of everything. The grab trucks, I love them a lot. I have been informed that we do in fact have a version of those here in the States, but it's not the same. Man, they do a wide variety. So talk about generational business. It is a generational business as well. Check out DJ Project. I agree. I'm sending you guys an email probably when we wrap this up. I would love to, if nothing else, just catch up and see how things are going with you guys. I would love that so much. Aaron says it's on a 17. All right, so yours is closer than mine. Mine's 5. So you're closer to this, bringing them in the fold. So 17, is your son active in the business? I bet so. At 17, I was very much a part of the business. Oh, we got to scroll up here a little bit. All right. Here we go. Don Parks, what's up? I just wanted to thank you for all the videos and advice you give us here. You're very welcome. You gave me the information needed for a 430-foot fence to be done by my wife and I. Congratulations. What an undertaking. 430 feet, 2 people, a husband and wife. Don, congratulations. I'm honored just that you think I helped you. I'm glad that we were able to provide some help and guidance. This comment is why we do this channel. Believe me, there are days where we probably question it as a whole of like, what are we doing? Like, is this meaningful? Is it, whatever? This comment, thank you, Don. I will save this comment and I will probably put it on one of our walls here just to say, this is what we're doing, right? We are helping people feel confident in building it themselves. And hopefully through your reaction videos, maybe we're showing them 1 or 2 things not to do, or at least to think about just for a minute before they do them. Don, congratulations. I bet it looks incredible. Dylan, what is up, buddy? Hello, everyone. Dylan is one of my best friends. Dylan, welcome to the chat. Appreciate you tuning in on a Saturday. Dylan and I and a couple other guys are going to go hit simulated golf balls later. So cannot wait for that, Dylan. Benji says, I have a proposal into the Unicode Consortium. It involves a 10-page proposal and usually takes about 1 or 2 years to get approval and implementation. Are we talking about the emojis? Is this the emoji conversation? Unicode Consortium, 10-page proposal, 1 to 2 years to get approval. It sounds like Harry Potter. That's exactly what this sounds like. You're telling me the guy that created like the fist bumping did all this? God, crazy. But then let's consider what other emojis would show up if it wasn't like this. So maybe. We cannot wait that long. We're going to have to call Zuckerberg. I think he's got a few extra things on his plate right at the moment. But hey, listen, if you've got Zuck's number, you call him. I am not standing in your way. Now, Robert, this is just false information. I did not drink all the whiskey. I drank a fair amount of it. This is true, but not all of it. Come on. Stop spreading fake news, Robert. Seriously. It was good whiskey, though. Dan Duverville, what is up, Dan? How are you? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dan. Appreciate you joining the chat. Al Martins. Hello, Al. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Al. Appreciate you joining us. I would say from the Great North, but Al's a bit of a roamer. He could be in the Great North, or he could be in the sunny South. You could really go, or somewhere in between. So, Al, wherever in the world today finds you, I hope you're doing well. Mike says, copper sticks kill trees and vampires. I can't speak from a place of experience on either, but it does sound like something I've heard before. Clint, what's up? Aloha Fence / Josh Rand posted a beautiful fence project this week that was a cattle-style panel using wood frames like you're describing. Absolutely. And then with another, we got to figure out why these emojis aren't coming through. I think that's just like a placeholder. It just says object. So it's probably the same fence emoji. Is Facebook holding down the fence emoji? These are questions we need answered. Aaron says, I'm down for show. Yes, Aaron, please. So talking about the generational show, I would love this so much. If we twist my dad's arm enough, he might come on. And when I say might, I mean there is about a 3% chance that but if I catch him on the right day, and I think he would appreciate the generational conversation. I think that would be really neat. Now, again, I'm not having my 5-year-old here because having him sit still for an hour is not going to happen. I mean, 5-year-olds in general, he won't sit still for a minute, much less an hour. But it would be neat to have my dad on. Please email me, Aaron. I am looking forward to this a lot. Dan's got a point. How many times have I heard that's not the way your grandpa taught me? Would have done it. Oh yeah. Oh, or your dad. Well, that's not the way your dad did it. I know. I worked for my dad. I am clear. I can still hear him, I would say, telling me emphatically how to do it. Yes, Dan, I can relate. It is something special. Ken says, would love that. Second generation, 52 years. We have some fun riddles. Emailed you a couple weeks ago. Okay, Ken, I'm going to go back through my email and find that. Joe at thefenceexpert.show. There's a lot of emails that show up there. So I apologize when I don't see them. There's a lot of, well, here's one that I got yesterday that made me chuckle. I was just scanning through my like unified email, folder or whatever, where it just merges all of them. There was one from a brand that says basically that they were a large influencer management firm in China, and they had a client that it was some sort of like hair straightener that they would love for us to do a video on. How am I? What a hair straightener? Like, we're on some list somewhere. We are on a list somewhere that apparently all these people buy. Like, who would say, you know what, Joe Everest, that fence guy, I bet he'd love to do a video on a hair straightener. Come on. But that's what's in this email folder. Good morning, Fence fam. What is up, Trusted Fence? Hello, hello, hello. Corey says, speaking of keeping old stuff around, what's your average time for products at the yard before being sold? Products are more available when they were during COVID. What's the average time for products at the yard before being sold? Well, I mean, we're talking about keeping old stuff around. I'm fairly sure we still have that cast post cap with a horse head on top of it somewhere. And that thing could very well be from the 50s. My granddad and his brother-in-law started this business in 1955. It very well could have came from 1955. Like, that could be the first post cap they pulled off a fence. I don't know. Well, and we've got some fence lines. Okay. What is your average time for products of the yard? It varies. Now, our main products lines, we typically like to keep about a month's supply because materials are more available now than they were before. During COVID, we would keep 3 to 6 months on hand just because you never know when you're going to be able to get it. Now, with the supply chain getting itself figured out, we're much more comfortable. A month plus or minus. Fittings a little bit more, just depending on where the fittings come from. They can either be here in a week if we're buying domestic, or 3 months if we're importing them directly, and really everything in between. Average time, I would say a month, plus or minus a month. Now, the average is going to get thrown off by that post cap from 1955 that's still tumbling around here somewhere. But the majority of our products, we keep about a month on hand. Justin says, when folks share questions and others provide feedback, everybody wins. Absolutely agreed. Absolutely. And that is really the reason we do these live Q&As, right? One, I'll come up here and talk about stuff for a while, but I really feel, and we had this conversation, Justin, about just trade shows in general while we're at the Expert Professional Wood Care, the Cedar University, there is value that comes from those shows, hands down, without a doubt. But there's also quite a bit of value that comes from the networking that comes after, right? So it's just fence professionals, staining professionals, professionals that do both. We had painters there. We had at the Cedar University, all coming together and talking about maybe problems or riddles that they have or things that they've had success with. What we're trying to do with the show is really provide a version of that on a weekly basis to where the comment section can be just involved in the show as I am, and hopefully more involved so that we can all share knowledge. Very well said, Justin. What's up, Timothy? Says, I am totally building a fence because of these videos. I love it. If I can help, please let me know. Email is up the chat a little bit, joe at thefenceexpert.show. I do try to watch it. Somehow I miss Ken's email. But if you need help, please send an email. I'd like to help however we can. What's your preference for wood type in a horizontal fence? I love cedar. In our market, it is cedar and pine. I absolutely understand because we did another video where we're talking about pine versus cedar. And they're like, well, whatever. You're a crook because you don't use redwood or ipe or whatever. I get it. There is better wood available in the world. But in our market, for fence, it is typically treated pine or cedar. Now, cedar there's a wide variety of cedars. There's incense cedar, there's western red cedar, there's eastern red cedar. There's import cedar, which JPC, just call it import cedar, which Technically, a lot of Western red cedar would be import because we bring it in from Canada, but cedar in general, you're going to be on a good direction. For wood type horizontal, I know there's guys that use pickets, and I understand the method of it and everything. If I have a choice, if I'm bidding it without a spec, we're going to talk about using dimensional lumber, whether it's 2x6, 2x4, 2x8. I like mixing and matching widths. I think that looks nice and creative rather than just a wall of fence. It's neat to have just some variety in there. And the cost really, until you get into 2x10s, 2x12s, the cost is negligible when we're talking about per square board foot of 2x6, 2x4. But it's always cedar. I love using cedar. Treated pine, the treatment's not the same. Actually, I was talking to someone, Cody Hink, I was talking to over on the East Coast, that said they still have CCA available, which I was under the impression CCA was just for saltwater applications, piers and all that, and agricultural, so farm fencing. Agriculture. Is there a funny chat coming? No, I heard Mark laughing over there. Was like, oh, we got a good one coming. Anyway, so cedar would be the choice over treated pine for me. Is it all the question to do beer, bourbon, and business Saturday at 10 a.m.? So that's already a theme that's taken in the fencing world, and I'm not going to step out. Oh, is it out of the question? Well, I'm not typically a big drinker in general. No. In the evening, sometimes out with the guys, there can be exceptions made. But 10 a.m. on a Saturday is a pretty wild thought. Aaron, you do you. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. If you'd like to, I'm not saying no, but I'm saying I probably won't. All right. So, okay. You banned Putin? That was the next thing. I can't bring it up, but it says Putin was banned and their comments were removed. He is not going to be happy. Next invasion is going to happen with Ozark fence. What did the president say about the fence? What did the president? Is this a joke? No, I don't. What did about? Are you talking? I don't understand the question. I mean, the president did like a State of the Union last night. I'm probably a bad American when I say I didn't watch it. I heard some highlights on the podcast coming in this morning. I don't know. I guess we're talking about the border fence, maybe. Who knows? Clarify, Aaron. I'm happy to talk about it. I just don't know what the question is. Don Park says reaction videos, general product knowledge videos, etc. Everything has been helpful. We went from lifetime steel post. Okay. Yep. So, lifetime steel post. Western red cedar rails, pickets, top caps, and borders. I love that a lot. Stain to come in the summer. Beautiful idea, Don. So lifetime. So we use Postmaster posts, but lifetime posts are in that same realm. I don't have direct experience with them, but they're a warranted post. It's typically galvanized steel, or I believe Lifetime has done the same as Postmaster, or vice versa. Postmaster may have copied it from them. Have a color coded version as well. Don, you knocked it out of the park on that one. You're not going to have to worry about fins unless you get a weather event, significant weather event. Hair straightener would be helpful if you grew the beard out. So I gave this about 30 seconds thought. I was like, it could be funny if we did like a beard straightening with this, but then I was like, hey, this is getting a little out of right field. Oh, okay. So Aaron, and then he clarifies that it's not a horse cap, it's a cap. I got that horse cap made by Reeves Fence. Now I got to find it, see if it's a Reeves Fence cap. It probably is. It's probably something that they made a while ago. We need to find this cap now. I'm trying to think the last place I saw it. It probably was the old shop before we moved. It's in a box somewhere. I guarantee it. Do you know of a platform that's geared towards purchasing used equipment vehicles, specifically fence related? I don't know that there's one. Lately, there's a site, and this is not an endorsement, just something I look at. It's called Purple Auctions. So I met a guy, and this very well could just be a Midwest thing, because I met a guy that was was talking about, he's involved with them somehow, was talking about, hey, if you need used equipment, check it out, that sort of thing. They have, but it's a wide variety, right? So there's so many online auctions. You never know which ones to trust and which ones not to. I don't know of a platform that's geared towards purchasing used equipment, specifically fencing related. Maybe that's another business idea, but no, I don't. Purple Auctions is where I go to look, just see like online auctions, just because I at least know one person associated with it, so it's not like just this completely made up thing. It could still be, and this person could just be, I don't know, but that's usually where I go to look. Or eBay or Facebook Marketplace is a wild place to look at equipment. Yeah. Justin says, I take away multiple nuggets each year and meet amazing people. Absolutely. And fellow business owners, every year they increase my knowledge and understanding of industry and business as a whole. Thank you, Joe. I don't know that I'm involved in that so much. I hope I do help, Justin. But and I usually talk about marketing, and this year's message was like, don't take your foot off the gas. Keep going even when you're busy, because there's going to come a time where we're getting back to pre-pandemic business models or business flow, to where, at least for us, Thanksgiving is kind of when things start dipping, and then they come back plus or minus March 1. This year, we seem to see that in the sales numbers. So we know Thanksgiving. It's like the movie, with the dragons, winter's coming, right? So we always know slow season's coming, right? So Thanksgiving's right around the corner. That is our finish line to the sprint. So we know it's coming. So in the summertime, we keep our foot on the gas. Anyway, this is my whole talk. So I hope that did help, Justin. But even if I didn't talk, I would still go to be in the room, right? To be in the room with guys like Justin, with guys like Caleb and Ashley, and folks like Caleb and Ashley, and just all these professionals that are in the same room that have done it for years and years and years and have an incredible amount of experience. I would still continue to go. Al Martin says, Fence Armor has great finials you can add to any post cap, but not a horse one yet. We might still, I'd have to go dig. Al, I think I've still got the post. This is my grandfather coming to life in me. I've still got the post cap. We did a video with, that might have been 3 years ago now. We should probably do another one. We talked about post armor and the post caps with interchangeable emblems on top, finials on top. So we should do another one of those. If the fence needs painting, paint it. Agreed. Oh, maybe that's what, is that? Okay. What did the president say about the fence? If the fence needs painting, paint it. That does sound like something he would say. Timothy says, thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge. Very welcome, Timothy. Very welcome. And that's, like I said, that's the reason behind the channel, is to try to be as helpful. Oh, okay. Okay. The president said, if defense needs painting, paint it. That also sounds like something he would say. Corey says, lifetime posts say wind rated to 85 miles an hour. Interesting. Yeah, higher than Postmaster. So Postmaster's, I believe, 72. The Postmaster Plus, 72 miles an hour. Don't quote me on that. I'm going off memory, which is always a dangerous thing. But read the instructions. They want 7.5 foot spacing for that rating. So I got in this conversation with an architect last week. We were bidding a project that called out Postmaster Post. An architect I didn't know, but it was calling out Postmaster Post. It's an 8-foot fence is calling for 8 foot 2 inch on center. I thought, well, that's not going to work. And this is in a big field. So I called, I started looking around. I couldn't find any documentation. Called Master Halco. There is a wind load data sheet that talks about wind exposure B, wind exposure C, and the difference is basically how much windbreak is in the area. Are there buildings over 30 feet? This sort of thing. But yeah, 4 foot post spacings on 8 foot. But what was interesting is on 6 foot, and again, I'm going on a couple weeks recollection here, 6 foot privacy fence, if it's in, I believe it's wind load C, which is, so think in the middle of a field, right? So no wind obstructions within so many feet, no buildings over 30 feet in the area. I believe those are like 6.5 or 7 foot post spacings is what they recommend for those. Definitely check this out on your own. And so what Master Halco said, this is actually available on the Postmaster website. If you go to like technical data or specifications, the wind load data sheet is on the website. So it's not always 8-foot spacing is what I'm saying. Now, the majority of the time we're using these is in a neighborhood, which would be like their wind load zone B, which is wind obstructions and all that, which is where you get the 8 feet. Interesting that Lifetime says 85 miles an hour at 7.5-foot post spacing. I don't know. So you get an extra post every so often. Interesting. 82 miles an hour. I have to look into that. Holly Lee. Hello, Holly. If you guys have done business with Ozark Fence, you've met either directly or indirectly Miss Holly, who does a great job of our accounting, both accounts receivable and payable, as well as HR. So just an outstanding job, and she puts up with us. So she's kind of the wrangler of the cats, so to speak. Holly, thank you for joining us. Trusted Fence, we just talked about this yesterday. Love it. All right, so we are 56 minutes in, and we haven't said a word about spring. So let's wrap this up with a little talk about spring. But guys, listen, this is actually what I hope for. Is I'll have some talking points on the day's subject when I'm running solo like this. But these are the days I love where in the chat, well, I say you guys, I guess your chat isn't right here. My chat is right here where I see your guys' comments. Where the chat. We roll with the chat all day. This is the greatest. But let's talk about spring. The thing I want to talk about is trade shows. So saw a great post from Nathan Downs, Radius Perimeter Security, Radius Perimeter Security, Protecting Your Radius podcast. He's at a trade show. Now, you want to talk about trade show booths. And it's interesting timing because we're talking about redoing our booth because the venue is changing and the booth layout's a little bit differently. Nope, it's a little bit different. Where we were before, we were always up against a wall. So they had curtains a couple foot off a wall because the wall had like structural beams or whatever. But we could run feet behind we would always build a wall of fence. So it would usually be 4 foot to 6 foot to 8 foot just to show people the options available. Picket, privacy, shadow box. But the feet would go behind. So like I said, there's usually at 2 or 3 foot space behind the curtain to allow for these these beams. And we could put sandbags and it would hold the fence up. It looked great. I loved it. Scott and the team always did a great job of building a really good booth. This year we're changing venues. So there's a new, it's not even an expo center. It's called the Wilson's Logistics Center. They're doing rodeos in there. They've had a rodeo in there 3 weekends ago. They're doing like motocross, but they also are there's an arena football team coming to town. Not coming to town, but they're going to be their new home in town. Trade shows. So it's the new thing. So the show's moving there this year. The problem is there are no booths against the wall. So they're all aisles. So booths back up to each other. So we're not going to have this 2 to 3 foot space behind us to put feet and sandbags and then weld to Postmaster post to build the fence with. So we're talking about redoing our booths. And along comes Nathan's. So if you guys didn't see Nathan's post, I'm sure it was in every one of the Fence Professional pages on Facebook. Go check it out. He had 5 or 6 iPads, it looked like, set up with the My Salesman quote tool for his company to where people could enter their information. They could draw the fence. They could get an idea for what the fence would cost. Very well done. And so I'm going to take another look at that Monday or Tuesday when we're actually meeting to talk about the next month's display. Spring is here. So we're talking about booths. Absolutely. So Trust Fences, his booth was awesome. Please go check it out. It really is. Well, we're talking about trade shows, right? So again, we are back to in our market, looking at our data, 2017, 18, and 19 sales data, right? To where we'll see peaks. Quarter 2 starts climbing, quarter 3 really peaks, and then quarter 4 falls. Quarter 1 kind of maintains, 2 climbs, 3 peaks. A roller coaster. Well, to kick this off, we typically have the HBA home show in January, sometimes early February, but it's usually mid to late January. Lawn and Garden Show is typically mid-February. We just had it 2 weeks ago. And then we're off to all of our community shows. So for us, it's the Republic Roar Expo. It's the Nixpo. It's the Taste of Ozark. It's the Rogersville Chamber Show. All these local communities typically have a one-day show that are fantastic. In our experience in our market, they're fantastic for generating interest. Now, so Alan Bolding and I were having this conversation yesterday about trade shows, and his point was accurate, was that we're not there, we're not ready to take on that much extra business. He's still in growth, which is great, and he recognizes that he doesn't want to pour a bunch of extra fuel on the fire and not be able to handle it, which is accurate. My counterpoint to that was these shows they do generate business. So we were fortunate enough to generate a couple pieces of business from the work. There were five-figure projects paid for the show, but that's not always the case. Typically, it's a 3, 4, 5 month burn of they saw us at the show, they heard our jingle on the radio, maybe they saw us on a TV spot, and then they decided we now live rent-free in the back of their mind. So when they or a neighbor needs a fence, or when anyone pops up in these community Facebook groups that says, who does fence, they'll think of us, right? So, but these trade shows are absolutely the way we spring into that busy season. We're going to start generating interest, at least get people thinking about, hey, that fence in your backyard, how's it looking? Is it still in good shape? Does it need sprucing up? Does it need a cleaning and a stain applied? We'd love to do that. If it's past that, is it ready to be repaired or replaced? Typically, it's ready to be replaced if it can't be cleaned and stained. But these shows are a great thing to do, or a great thing to do to generate that interest. So my conversation with Alan was much to the point of, one, you don't necessarily get all that business right away. It comes over time. But two, the local community shows. So HBA Home Show, Lawn and Garden Show for us are 3-day shows, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The community shows are typically one-day shows held on Saturday. So you show up at 7 a.m., 7:30, set your booth up, get everything right. Then at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, they let the public in. Usually they close sometime around 2 or 3. You get everything put together, you throw it back in the vehicle, and you're gone. It's a really quick hit, but it is a great way to generate business because in our market, so if you're in our market, just bypass this part of the show completely. They're not there. We are literally the only fence contractor that shows up to these one-day shows. We get the interest by default. Now, do we get all the business? Absolutely not. But we get a fair amount of it because we're the people in their community that's showing up to answer questions. And it doesn't hurt that I live in Republic, right? So then we can talk about a lot of the Republic things. And now I'm the local guy that does fence. But this also happens in Nixa and Ozark and Rogersville and Willard and everywhere that has these one-day shows. You're the person that's coming to their community to be helpful, to offer assistance, right? So, and usually those shows, I think Nixpo we just paid for, so I know it off the top of my head, is like $100 to have a booth in this place. And it was $50 to upgrade to the punch card. If you get the option to upgrade to the punch card, always pay the $50 to get the punch card because so what they do is they take this punch card all around the show, and then when they get it filled, they get to apply or they put it in a drawing for like a spa day or something like that. But it gets people coming to your booth. You've got to punch it for them to move on. For $50, I don't have to sell much fence at that show to pay for the $50 or the $150 all in on this show, compared to a lawn and garden show or HBA home show that is several $1,000s to have booths there. Great entryway to get into doing shows. Great way to get a foot in the door in the community. One-day shows are the first step in getting into using these trade shows to generate more business. That is basically the Cliff Notes version of what I wanted to talk about today because these are going on right now, right? So we're actively looking for more community shows right now to participate in. This is the time of the year. Also, thinking about how to make it make sense for us to get in on these fall craft fairs because these things in our area are wildly attended. The Ozark has a craft, whatever they call their craft festival, and it's thousands and thousands of people, 8,000 to 10,000 people show up at this event over the course of a few days. It's like, how does it make sense for us to be able to put the orange flags in the air, the orange tent up that says Ozark Fence, and just talk to a handful of people that want to talk about fence? But how can it relate? So a lot of the craft shows are still very gated. Like you have to craft in some way. Well, now we're starting to generate some crafts so that we can get into this show, sell a few crafts. Fine, we'll sell them at cost, but also be the fence company there talking about doing fence so that hopefully maybe we can extend our season a little bit past Thanksgiving. Can we get into December? Can we get into January? Because from January, you can almost see March from there. So that's currently where our head's at. These shows, get into these shows, guys, because it's typically low cost, especially the one-day shows, $150 to get into this show here that will meet several thousand people in that community. It's a win-win. It really is. It's $150 and a days of your. I go into it. It's a day. Now, I say this, Nixpo, I'm actually not. So Nixpo for us is next weekend. I've got a great guest coming on the show. Sarah and my dad are running the show, but it typically is one person's time for that day. Set up, run the show, tear it down, bring it back on Monday. Low cost, low overhead. It's a really easy way to get into these shows. Bo says, are you going to do a collab with Jeff from Canada? Absolutely not. Next question. Aaron says, got to go, Joe. Thank you, Aaron, for coming. Great show, and thanks for the quick responses. You're awesome, dude. Aaron, I appreciate you showing up. Look forward to doing a generational show in the near future. How can I find this one-day expo? Nick, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do Monday morning is every community that I want to do business in, which we'll go back and look at last year's sales data, filtered by zip code. It's going to give you the zip codes you do the most business in. And for us, we've done it long enough where I know we want to be in Republic, Nixa, Ozark, Rogersville, Willard, Stratford maybe. Some stuff's going up there. Fairgrove possibly. And I'm literally just going to search Republic, the Chamber of Commerce is the one that puts these on typically. The smaller communities. In the larger communities, there's typically a home builders association, but that's it. That's not the one day. So for the one day expos, you're going to search Republic, Missouri, Chamber of Commerce Expo. And we're going to see what pops up. Or you might call it a community day or a community show, or that's pretty much, they call them expos in our market, pretty much exclusively. It's a Repmo Expo or the Roar Expo. It's a Nixpo Expo. It's a Taste of Ozark. Actually, Ozark is the Taste of Ozark show, maybe. Just search the Chamber of Commerce, really. Look at their calendar. It'll have something on it, or they'll have a banner up. Start with your community's Chamber of Commerce and then all of the communities around you where you want to do business. Insert city or community, Chamber of Commerce, Expo. Pretty straightforward. Alan Boulding here. Another reason for a laser. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is, so I'll talk to you guys about something that Alan and I talked about yesterday. So we sell cedar blocks, the aromatic cedar. We sell them on Amazon and Etsy and Walmart.com, just all these different places. But what we're talking about is, so if this wall was our display at a show, right? So just a wall of Eastern red cedar, aromatic, smells great. 9 times out of 10, maybe not 9, 7 times out of 10, somebody walks by, looks at it. They'll walk in our booth, stick their nose to this fence and smell it. Well, that is cedar. Absolutely it is. Oh, it smells great. I used to have, a cedar chest or a cedar closet, or I haven't smelled cedar like this in ages. You build fence from this? I absolutely do. I'd love to come put it in your yard. So the next thing is these blocks are that aromatic Eastern cedar. So the conversation Alan and I had last night was laser engraving the Ozark Fence logo or a QR code. I haven't figured out which one yet, which one we want to do yet. Lasered into these blocks, right? And just give them out, hand them out. We also sell a cedar sachet. So think like a potpourri bag with this aromatic cedar shavings. And, we sell those. Well, we make those, right? So we could we tie it in a knot. We cedar shavings go in, you tie it in a knot, sell it out. Well, can we cut a hole, punch a hole in a business card, tie it to the cedar shaving bag and give it out as a gift? Or as Alan's suggesting, sell it or give it away. We could probably sell it at these shows, but also sell the unmarketed ones. I'm not a big fan of buying things that have marketing on them. except for, I guess, like, whatever, every Nike shirt I owned or Under Armour shirt. But I don't think we would brand something like that we're then going to sell. But yeah, another reason for a laser indeed. Man, going down the rabbit hole of laser engravers or desktop lasers, wow. I spent 3 hours last night. So Alan showed me his. So the one that he uses is likely the one we're going to get. But then that led me into a YouTube rabbit hole of like desktop laser engravers, CO2 versus diode. There's a lot there. So anyway, that is another reason for lasers, to get us into those fall craft shows to hopefully extend our season a little bit longer. All right, guys. We are at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Oh, so Star Wars was probably about the laser. We're not talking about like Star Wars version lasers. We're talking about like desktop lasers. But Star Wars laser would be cool. Or sharks with laser beams on their heads. That would be awesome. All right, guys. Yeah, we're going to start landing the plane. So we're 1 hour and 11 minutes in. We've made it all the way. Appreciate you guys for joining. Oh, one more idea, Corey. Corey says, you could cut your bad picket smaller, engrave it, and make it a grilling plank smoking for barbecue. This was Alan and I's conversation last night. So he knows someone that does something similar to this, or has heard of someone do. They'll use it for use it outside looking at the fence. So yes, on Western red cedar. I was talking to a gentleman at Tony Thornton. Tony Thornton had an event at Shangri-La, a Fencer Super Summit. There's a gentleman there that was talking about, he had experience in the wood industry, and we were talking a little bit. So Eastern red cedar, the oils in Eastern red cedar are different, similar, but different than in Western red cedar. So Eastern red cedar is not going to make a grilling plank. But if you use Western red cedar, absolutely. A 12-inch plank would be a very good idea. And you could probably sell them, or you could put your logo on them and hand them out. To your point, if they're bad pickets, if you culled them out for a split or a knot or whatever, they didn't meet your standards. I mean, that's where our cedar block that we sell, the aromatic cedar blocks, that's where that came from, is we had a bunch of 2-foot cutoffs. What do we do with them? We've got some woodworking equipment. We could probably turn them into a marketable product. Same thing with Western. If we use Western red cedar, this is absolutely where we'd go. And my mind goes to the fact that the big box stores typically have bundles of just junk pickets. They get returned. They're not usable. Most of them are pine. Some of them are cedar. Western red cedar. Home Depot sells a ton of the Alta Western red cedar. Maybe that's a thought. You'd still have to buy them, but you'd buy them at a fraction of what they cost. Could you turn them into a marketable product or a marketing product? Maybe. Yeah, Roger's right. Great for cooking salmon. So the gentleman I was talking to was talking about a lumber mill that pretty much took all of their, not waste, but if it didn't grade out, right? So if they were only selling grade 2 and above or whatever, and for whatever reason it didn't even grade out to a 2, then they would bundle those. When they got a truckload of them, they would sell them to like a national franchise restaurant that would use them for grilling fish, right? Say grilled on a salmon plank and this and that. Definitely worth looking into if you use Western cedar or you're in the market. This is what's got my gears turning now, is reaching out to our big box stores to say, do you happen to have a big pile of cedar that you can't sell? I'd be a buyer at whatever feasibly makes sense cost-wise to buy that cedar picket for. This is good stuff, guys. This is why I love having this show. We're exchanging ideas. We're talking about stuff. Absolutely looking forward to the generational fencer conversation. We're probably going to polish that title a little bit. Email me if you're a generational fencing contractor. Second, third, fourth, whatever. If you're a generational fencing contractor, reach out to me, joe@thefenceexpert.show. It's up here somewhere. Bingo. Joe@thefenceexpert.show. I'd love to talk to you. I'd like to set up a conversation on Saturday, a live conversation similar to this, where we just talk about the unique aspects of running a generational fencing business. Guys, appreciate you watching. If you're watching this on a recorded version, basically as soon as this thing gets done, YouTube posts as a recorded version. Still leave your comments in the comments below. Better or worse, I still read the comments. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see them. Guys, until next week. Next week, we've got Andrew Martin coming on, talking more about finance as it relates to fencing and just generally in life. I cannot wait to have that conversation. Tune in for it next week again with Andrew Martin. I'd love to see you guys there. For now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors.